now been abandoned by Saudi Arabia. I don't know whether you know it. Do you? That a pagan Arab never needed a visa to perform the Hajj, even while he was worshipping idols. Even while he was worshipping idols, a pagan Arab could go to the house of Allah and perform the Hajj. No one could stop him. No one could say, you need my permission to come here. No one could say, you must have a visa. No. For thousands of years. That's gone today. Not only in Saudi Arabia, but all over the world. But in Israel, in this imposter Israel, they have preserved that model of a state which emerged with Nabi Dawood alayhi salam and which was restored by Nabi Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam. Let us repeat it one more time. This part of the characteristic of the Khilafah state, that it recognized no nationality as a bar. That once you are a member of the religious community of those who worship Allah, you are allowed to enter the territory. You don't need a visa. You're allowed to reside. You don't need a residence permit. You're allowed to seek your livelihood. You don't need a work permit. And you're allowed to participate in the political process on the basis of equality with all other believers. You don't need to be a Saudi citizen. Nabi Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam proceeded to expand on the model of the Khilafah state, in that he sent letters out to all the neighboring states, inviting them to either become Muslim or to enter into treaty relations with us of mutual peace and non-aggression. This invitation was given to tribes in Arabia that were not Muslim, and this invitation was also extended beyond tribal Arabia. And from the seed which he planted eventually emerged what may be described as the Islamic conception of an international order. So the Khilafah state is now being expanded to embrace a conception of an international order. This part where Muslims reside, which recognizes Allah's sovereignty, which recognizes Allah's supreme authority, which enforces Allah's law as the supreme law, is called, I'm going to use the term for the first time now, it's called Darul Islam. Darul Islam. Dar means house. Dar means abode. But we may want to call it the Muslim world. No problem with that. Darul Islam now reaches out to the rest of the world to establish with the rest of the world relations based on mutual peace and non-aggression. To the extent that a neighboring state, or even a state that is distant, is prepared to coexist with the Islamic State on the basis of mutual peace and non-aggression, a treaty is signed. When we have exhausted all the rest of the world, And we have signed such treaties of peace and non-aggression with all the rest of the world. We now have what our scholars of international relations describe as Darus Salam. Darus Salam would be the world of peace. There is a term in Latin which is used to describe this. They call it Pax Islamica. When Britain became the ruling state in the world, Britain attempted to replicate it, but not exactly, and then they call that Pax Britannica. You may have heard the term. And then when the United States took over, and the United States attempted to establish those relations with the rest of the world, they call it Pax Americana. You may have heard it. And tomorrow when Israel takes over, and Israel attempts to do the same, they will call it Pax Judaica. And so we're introducing you to Pax Islamica. But Pax Islamica is built on foundations of morality, of moral values. And that is that to the extent that you are prepared to coexist with the Islamic State on the basis of mutual peace and non-aggression, to that extent, you are now a part of Darus Salam, the world of peace. What about the rest of the world? It is not a state of peace if you oppress others. No. When power rests on the foundations of faith, power will not allow oppression. No. Allah wants you to fight the oppressor. Allah asks in the Quran, what's wrong with you? وَمَا لَكُمْ لا تقاتلون في سبيل الله والمستضعفين من الرجال والنساء والولدان الذين يقولون ربنا أخرجنا من هذه القرية الظالم أهلها إلى آخر الآية. What's wrong with you? And so the Islamic State, while it reaches out to establish relations of mutual peace and non-aggression with all the world which is prepared to reciprocate. The Islamic State will not tolerate oppression in the world, will not establish peaceful relations with the oppressor, because when power rests on the foundations of faith, power will be used to punish the oppressor. Welcome to Islam's conception of an international order. If we do not have freedom to preach Islam in your territory, that's wickedness. Allah says, Al-haqqu min rabbikum, truth is from your Lord. فَمَنْ شَاءَ فَلْيُؤْمِنْ, whosoever wishes is free to accept it. وَمَنْ شَاءَ فَلْيَكْفُرْ, and whosoever wishes must have the freedom to reject it. And when you reject the truth, we're not coming after you with a sword. No. لَكُمْ دِينُكُمْ وَلِيَ دِينِ. We respect your choice. Yes. All that we insist upon is that this earth belongs to Allah. And we must have the right to preach the truth everywhere on Allah's earth. If you deny us that right to preach the truth, we cannot consider you to be a part of Darus Salam.